Sati, awaken to the present.
It's a true honor and privilege for me to bring this exclusive episode to you all the way from West Virginia in the United States, from the Bhavana Society in West Virginia, where I have the rare opportunity to sit down with the most affectionately known Bhante G, Bhikkhu Henepola Gunaratana, who is very affectionately known as Bhante G. Bhante G, your life's work has impacted many thousand lives over these many decades. And you founded the Bhavana Society and touched the lives of people from across continents. You've spent a lifetime teaching mindfulness, wisdom, across continents from Sri Lanka to the United States, guiding thousands through your writings and your work. And Bhante G has authored over 20 books. Most notably, we have Mindfulness in Plain English, recognized by New York Times in April 2022 as the best book for mindfulness, translated to more than 32 languages and recently to even Hebrew. I think I'd like to focus on your teachings on awareness and ethics mean so much to us more than ever. But let's go back to several decades ago, many decades ago, when you decided to come to the United States. At a very young age, you ordained in Sri Lanka from a faraway village, and here you are in the United States. I would be very happy, and our audiences will be privileged to hear your story.
You mean, I was ordained at the age of 12 and received my primary education in a place called Vidya Sekara Pirivana in Gampa, which is in Bendimulla village. And after primary education, I went to Vidya Lankara Pirivana. Those days it was not a university, it was a very high class Pirivana, monks school. In today's term, it may be like a college. One of the most prestigious educational institution. And after that, I was selected to be a student. It was not my application, but they selected me to be one of the students in Dharmadutta Vidyalaya, that means Buddhist Missionary College, which is in Dematavada, run by Venerable Dr. Paravahara Vajiranyana. And there I received education on Buddhism, languages, Hindi, Tamil, English. It was 3-year course. I managed to finish it in 1.5 years. And then he selected me to send to India. Then I went to India, a place called Sanchi. Sanchi has a very special relationship with Sri Lanka because Venerable Mahinda's mother, Vidisa Devi, was there. Venerable Mahinda, Asoka's son, on the way to Sri Lanka, came to Sanchi to see his mother, and from there he went to Sri Lanka. Sangamitta, Mahinda's sister, also came to Sanchi, so her mother, then she was a nun, her mother, and went to Sri Lanka. Therefore, Sri Lanka and Sanchi has special relationship. I stayed there for 2.5 years. Then I was transferred to New Delhi, where I served 1 year. From there I was transferred to Bombay, where I served another year. Altogether 4 years I served in India, working with Dalit. Mahatma Gandhi called them untouchables. Mahatma Gandhi called them Harijana. Dr. Ambedkar, who was Harijan, protested. He said Harijana means son of gods. If we are son of gods, whose sons are you? So he argued and changed the name to Dalit. So I worked with them during that period in India.
From India, Bhante, you traveled to?
While I was in India, Venerable Kirinde Dhammananda came to India on a pilgrimage, and he saw me and he invited me to come to Malaysia. After my term was over, after 4 years, he sent me a letter to get visa and money to get my ticket, and I went to Malaysia by boat. From Madras to Malaysia, it took 1 week by boat called Frajula. And then I went there for 2 years, but I served for 10 years in Malaysia, teaching in Sunday school, regular school, and became advisor to the Youth Federation in Malaysia for 10 years. And also I wrote a correspondence course in English to teach Dhamma, Buddhism. And it is very interesting story. Once I went to Thailand, and on my way back, I was sick and hospitalized in Penang. While I was in Penang, somebody who had heard that there was a Buddhist monk in the hospital, a Chinese gentleman, he came and saw me and asked me, "What is your name?" I said, "Gunaratana." "Oh, my teacher also is Gunaratana." I said, "Where is your teacher?" He is in Kuala Lumpur. I asked him, how a monk in Kuala Lumpur became your teacher? He said, "I read his correspondence course." That's how he became my student. When I came to the United States, also the same thing happened when I was in Washington, D.C. A man called and I answered the phone. He asked me my name. I said, "My name is Gunaratana." His name is Wallace, this man's name Wallace. When I said my name was Gunaratana, he told me, "My teacher's name is Gunaratana." I said, "Where is your teacher?" "He is in Kuala Lumpur." I asked him, "How Kuala Lumpur monk become your teacher?" He said, "I studied his correspondence course." So long before I started writing books, I had this initial writing to teach Dhamma through the correspondence.
As I said before, your lifetime of teachings, writings, and your compassion has touched many lives, Bhante G. And then after 10 years in Malaysia, you moved to the United States in 1955 on the 17th of January. We hear of the compassionate and the selfless efforts of that you've put together for Vietnamese refugees. How did you come about that, and what made you be a part of it?
I came to the United States in 1968, and then I was going to the university here because I had Cambridge University high school certificate. With that qualification, I was able to enter the university. When I entered the university, my age was 43. And I did my BA, MA, PhD here. While I was working at the university as a chaplain, in 1975, America lost Vietnamese war. And then many thousands of refugees came to the United States. 10,000 came to Florida. So the State Department contacted me and asked me whether I could go and help them. Without knowing anything, I said yes. So they put me on a military executive jet and sent to Florida, Eglin Air Force Base. Eglin Air Force Base was in Florida, Okaloosa County, and since I went there, I worked with them for first 2 weeks, 22 hours a day. I slept only 2 hours a day. Because so many refugees came, they were sometimes wearing very ragged clothes, wounded bodies, bringing only one Buddha picture or Buddha statue. That's all possession they had. And when they saw me at the airport, they cried. They became very emotional seeing a Buddhist monk in the United States. Anyway, I went to their camps, and I took our Vandana book for the puja, devotional service. But they don't understand Pali or English. Then I was walking in the camp, a little boy came, about 8-year-old boy, folding his palms, and said to me, Namo Aida Fat. Then I asked me, what does it mean? He said, this is how we pay respect to Amitabha Buddha. Or Namo Tikka Muni Fat. This is how we pay respect to Sakya Muni Buddha. Then I asked him, do you have a book that you use for your devotional service? He said, yes. So he went into the camp, their tent, and brought thick book and gave me. So I borrowed it and went to the office of the State Department and asked them to print out 3,000 copies and deliver to me the following day. Because they are so efficient, their work is so quick, very skillful people, and they made 2,000 copies next day. And then I gathered somebody who could speak English, and they did the chanting in Vietnamese language. So that's how I started chanting, what you call a service. And then after that I gave a talk on Dhamma, and then made them meditate for a few minutes, Anapanasati. In the evening also we did the same thing. And the State Department had given me a bungalow with a car. It was about 20 miles away from the camp. First 2 weeks I rode with a Catholic priest, American Catholic priest and Vietnamese Catholic priest. One day American Catholic priest asked me to give him a little Buddha medallion for him to hang on his neck, around his neck. I gave it to him, and then following day, when he came to pick me up, he said, Bhante, it is very strange. This morning when I woke up, this Buddha statue and cross were tangled. I could not unentangle. Then the Vietnamese Catholic priest said, that is why I told you, you never put these two together, they always fight. Then I said, no. They were not fighting, they love each other so much, they hugged each other, so you cannot separate. American Catholic priests liked my joke. I enjoyed it. Anyway, after 2 weeks, they gave me a car, and then I went there. And then they gave me 3 telephones to call any part of the United States, all free. And then I had to find sponsors to take these people out of the camp as quickly as possible because of the hurricane. August is hurricane season. This started in May 1975. And then we had to find out sponsors. Sometimes people come and select some people they like. One day a woman sponsored a young man, and a week later she brought him back and said to me, Reverend, until yesterday, she brought him on Monday. Until yesterday I thought he was a good Catholic. But only yesterday I found him not to be a Catholic, he's a Buddhist. Then I asked her, what made you think that he was Catholic? He was very kind, very polite, very gentle, very decent, nice man. So that is her impression of Catholic. And she did not know all these qualities belong to Catholics. She did not know that these qualities, even Buddhists can have these qualities. That is how some people think of other religions. So anyway, she returned him to the camp. Then I found somebody else to sponsor him, to take him out of the camp. Another time, these are some of my experiences. There was a Methodist priest, actually Baptist. He got about 18 young boys, maybe 9, 10-year-old young boys, brought to the camp. There was a huge camp, a tent, built for us to use for both Christians and Buddhists. 80% in the camp were Buddhist, and therefore we had a big tent. When a Catholic had their service, they put a cross on the altar and had service. When we had service, I removed the cross and put the Buddha statue and had the service. So while I was in my office, I could see my office was very close to the, this common tent. I saw him baptizing these 18 children. I waited until he finished the baptism. I went to him and said, Joseph, what you did in this morning is very mean thing. You shouldn't have done this here. These children are sponsored by Christians. This is a Christian country. And when they are sponsored, when they go to various places, people will take them to church every day. that they can do it. Here, they are in a very dire situation, desperate, and you took the advantage of their desperation. You have promised their parents, if you want to get out of the camp quickly, become Christian. If you want to get good school for children, become Christians. If you want to have a good job, become Christians. And these are all, blatant lie. And therefore, you should not do this. I straight away went to the State Department and they have a newspaper. I complained. So they published in newspapers that nobody in this camp should convert anybody to any religion. Then I stopped. So sometimes, this is very strange, sometimes I had to, there were, when 10,000 people live together, boys and girls fall in love with each other and they want to marry. When a Catholic had marriage, they have church help them to get wedding dresses and evening receptions, rings and so forth. But when Buddhist people are going to marry, there is nobody. Then I was walking in the camp, I saw a woman called Mrs. Longacre. This is the situation. I came from about 1,000 miles away. I don't have anybody here.
Yes.
When there are many people, 80% of the camp are Buddhists. Could you help me to get some things for these people, at least a ring and evening reception? She agreed. She provided all of them. One day I performed 3 weddings. 3 couples sat in front of me. There's the Buddha statue. I had a ball of thread. I asked them to hold, and then I chanted sutras, Mangala, Ratana, Karaniya sutras, and sprinkled water on them. And that was wedding ceremony. That was sort of like officiating their wedding. So they accepted it and went. Like that, very pleasant and unpleasant experiences were there. At the same time, local newspaper, as soon as I went there, somebody who didn't like this Buddhist monk working in a refugee camp published an article in the paper that why American taxpayers' money is used to bring these heathen, pagan, infidel to this area. If this miserable, wretched Vietnamese cannot become Christian, let them go to hell, and so forth. From that day onward, there were articles after article on newspapers. Somebody who knew Buddhism very well has written praising Buddhism, wonderful qualities that Buddhism has. The philosophy of Buddhism can present to the world. And universal truth is taught in Buddhism. It is not provincial. It is perfect. It is unaffected by time. And so forth. Beautiful article they wrote. After that man stopped writing anything. Yeah.
Bhante, from the age of 12 today, at the age of 98 years, when you look back at what you have done, not just for the Buddha Sasana, but also communities across borders and countries, how fulfilled are you about your lifetime spent in compassion and sharing your wisdom?
Actually, I feel very, very happy that I've been able to dedicate my entire life for the spreading Buddhism. As Buddhist missionary. In fact, when I was a little boy, maybe at the age of 8, nobody in our village knew English, not one word. But my brother, who had run away from home because of some conflict with my father, he was about 16 years old. Teenagers have problems. So he had some problem with my father, ran away, and after a few years, he came back with some knowledge of English. And he taught me some English words, which I was repeating again and again. So my parents and brothers and sisters asked me, "What are you, mumbling?" I said, "This is the language I want to learn and teach." I become a monk and teach Buddhism in this language. So
even at a young age.
Even as it is sort of in a call, I must say. So very, instinctive expression.
Sati, awaken to the present.
What was Buddhism to you then? What did you feel about Buddhism and understand?
I don't know. I had a very great attachment to Buddhism. Because my parents are very devout Buddhists. Mm-hmm. They observe precepts, 8 precepts, 4 times a month: full moon, new moon, and quarter moons. And our temple is very close to the house, 5 minutes walking distance. And I go with my mother and father and stay the entire day in the temple. And I like monks. Monks love children very much. When we go to temples, they allow us to play. And sometimes they give us candy and so forth, if they have. So I like monks' life. Moreover, I wanted to, those days the monks, the preachers are carried by 2 people physically. They carry to the pulpit. There's a highly elevated seat, asana, for them to sit. And they call a hand chair. One person holds his hand like this, other person holds like this, and monks sit on this. It looks like a chair, and bring to the asana. I like it very much. I said I wanted to go like that and teach them. So that was my initial wish.
But today you have come down to the lowest to reach out to the most vulnerable, to even the most youngest in society, whether it's different statures, those who come from different walks of life. What profound message of the Buddha Dhamma do you think attracts all of them to follow the philosophy?
I see my very sincere faith is almost unshakable. And I wish if everybody has the good knowledge of Dhamma and understand who the Buddha is, what the Dhamma is, who the noble Sangha is, I think most of them will be better people. That is my very sincere belief. And therefore, they can learn living friendliness called metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, 4 sublime teachings of Brahma Viharas, and if they can put them into practice, they can prevent from committing crimes, various type of using drugs, and it will be very helpful to clean the society of crimes and make it less what you call
Destructive?
uh,
Destructive?
more instructive and less committing crimes.
Bhante G, it sounds like the Buddhist philosophy could be the answer to many of the world's problems today, from conflict to inequality to all the challenges that we face today. But we also hear that you make people meditate, that you want people to meditate. So how would you share with our audiences why we must meditate and why it is something that brings us benefits beyond a religion?
Actually, we all understand that we are suffering. That is a universal truth. And this suffering has a cause, that is our greed. And this greed should be ended, that is attaining liberation. And there is a path, way to the leading to the end of suffering. And meditation addresses all of them. First of all, we understand the suffering through the practice of meditation, because everything is impermanent. Everything is permanently impermanent. Whatever is impermanent is suffering. Whatever is impermanent and suffering is without self. These are the three things we see in real meditation, which is called vipassana meditation, insight meditation. When we see these three things, we learn how to get rid of our greed. You see, we all have greed, some more greed than others. The more greed you have, more suffering you have. Less greed you have, less suffering you have. And therefore, through the practice of meditation, the Mahasatipatthana Sutta gives 5 purposes of meditation. For the purification of being, Sattanang Visuddhya, to overcome sorrow and lamentation, Sog Paridhavana Samatikkamaya, and Dukkha Domana Sanagattanga, overcome sorrow and grief, Nyaya Sadhigamaya, to put ourselves on the right track, that is following the Noble Eightfold Path, and Nibbana Sati Kriyaya, for the realization of Nibbana. These are the 5 purposes of meditation. Actually, when we practice meditation, we see how they are reducing in our daily life, in daily life. For instance, we do only 3 things every day. We think, we speak, we act. When we do these 3 things. When we think, if greed arises, that very moment we feel unhappy. Greed never makes us happy. And that time we try to be mindful not to be greedy. For instance, when we have a conversation, greedy thought arises, then we immediately detect it. It is so close to our heart, our mind. I mean, anger or hatred arises at that time. that moment we become mindful of it and overcome our anger, hatred, resentment, and practice our patience. Most of the time we have conversation and very tiny little unpleasant word can trigger their anger. If they are mindful, they can immediately check it and stop it and prevent from any unpleasant consequences after that. Once we say something in anger and you hurt the person, that person suffers and we suffer more than that person. Because every time we think about our unpleasant word that we expressed, we feel guilty, we feel bad. So all these can be prevented if we remain mindful. Then delusion. Delusion is another name for ignorance, avidya. We can reduce that. When we reduce our avidya, ignorance, mind becomes very clear, and once mind clear, we can see the reality as it is. And therefore, even the very basic practice, even a short period of meditation practice every single day can improve one's own life, quality life. We want to live, we will take medicine for our body, and still we may have mental suffering, mental sickness. For that we have to practice meditation to clean our mind. And that is why the Buddha said, whatever medicines in the world of various types, none is equal to the medicine of Dhamma. Because Dhamma medicine can heal our mental illness. And that is why the Buddha is called Visakka Sallakatta, the surgeon and surgeon and internal medicine doctor. So he analyzes our problems and gives right medicine. And therefore, that's the fundamental or heart of Buddhism.
Bhante, you spoke about quality of life, and you've written a book, Impermanence in Plain English. So how do we understand while leading quality lives, while looking to fulfill our desires, some search for the purpose of life, why we are here sometimes, because we don't understand the impermanence still. But how would you describe this impermanence of life and tell us why it's so important to overcome the problems of ego?
You see, we every day greed arises in 60 places in our life. Through our 6 senses, greed arises, and when we count it, it will be 60 times. Through the eyes, 10, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind. 10. How is that happening? Buddha said in Chakkum bhikkhave pirupam satrupam ette satanna uppajamana uppajati. Eyes are pleasant and agreeable, craving arises there. Okay? Then form that we see with our eyes, also pleasing and agreeable, craving arises there. Then eye consciousness, similarly, is pleasing and agreeable, craving arises there. Eye contact, craving arises there. Then the feeling that arises through the eye contact, craving arises there. Then perception of the form, craving arises there. Thought of the form, that is chetana, craving arises there. Then greed arises from greed, craving arises there. Then thought, which they call vitakka, craving arises there. Vichara, this is deliberation, examination, craving arises there. So 10 places, occasions, craving arises through the eye. Similarly, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind, each have 60 moments, 10 moments, so craving arises there. In order to get rid of that, we have to think eyes are impermanent, unsatisfactory, perishable, dukkha viparamam, khadamam, fading away, viraga dhamma, vaya dhamma, passing away, nirodha dhamma, subject to cessation, paticca samuppanna, and what do you call vaya dhamma, khadamma, viraga, nirodha dhamma, sankatan, conditioned, and paticca samuppanna, they dependently arising. And therefore, netang mama nesu hamasina mesu atta. This is not this is not mine. That means you are not, you are getting rid of your greed. Whenever we say this is mine, that means possessiveness. Mm-hmm. You possess. So you get rid of that. Netang mama nesu hamasmi. This I am not. And this is not myself. When you go through these 12 steps, you will have 720 times you repeat this. By the end, your mind is so calm, so peaceful, so tranquil, you feel very, very wonderful. All your problems will vanish, at least during that time. If your meditation is 1 hour, during that time, no greed, hatred, delusion arise in your mind. That is how we build our mental health. You know, no matter how much physically we are strong, young, robust, athletic, doing all sorts of acrobatic things, physically, mentally they are sick.
When you say mentally sick, Bhante G, we have many daily problems, issues that many face, whether it's sickness mentally, whether it's uneasiness, whether it's depression, anxiety. Young people, even teenagers, face these issues. And as we go forward, we see the senior citizens too, who suffer from memory issues. So how can we use bhavana or meditation and mindfulness?
You know, if somebody is mentally disabled, sometimes because of birth defect, it is difficult to train. But otherwise, if they are born with normal senses, if they are anxious, they have depression, then meditation helps them. You know, we recommend people to meditate. At least we start with focusing mind on the breathing. Breathing meditation called Sati. There are various subjects of meditation. And when they start breathing, focusing entire mind on the breath, and then breath becomes gradually soft, gentle, calm, peaceful, and mind stays there without letting it wander here and there. There are various things that happens when we try to focus mind on the breath. Sometimes the greed may arise. You may remember some kind of ice cream in the fridge or delicious piece of cake, and your mind will go there. And then immediately, if you tiptoe to the kitchen and had this piece of ice cream or piece of cake or ice cream, you cannot meditate because your body, you have a lot of sugar in the body, which makes you more active and cannot concentrate. And therefore at that time we must advise ourselves, talk to ourselves, and said, I have eaten ice cream so many times, cake so many times, and I have never gained any iota of wisdom, and if I eat now, it will destroy my practice. So you advise yourself and don't eat ice cream or don't think of it. And sometimes the opposite of that can happen. Anger, resentment, while we are meditating. And we have to get rid of that immediately by practicing metta, loving friendliness. Or we may have restlessness. Restlessness and worry comes from breaking precepts. At least a good meditator must observe at least 5 precepts, the basic principle, basic precepts of Buddhists. And then when they break the precept, they worry about it, that they have broken the precepts. And then that is restlessness and worry. And then doubt. You have doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, morality, and so forth. And you have to have a deep faith in the Buddha. Buddha is the only one who never said anything to cheat us. He said, whether people like or not, he always spoke the truth. In Indian society those days, even now, people have a very strong belief that there is a permanent self. Buddha straight away said, Rupam bhikkhave anatta. Anatta Lankan Sutta, Buddha said, Rupam bhikkhave anatta. Form is without self. Form is without self. Rupam chitam bhikkhave attabhasanaitam rupam abhada samvatati. If the body has self, then that self should be able to control the body, but there is no control. And so forth, he spoke very directly. And therefore we have the deepest confidence in the Buddha. And that is how we get rid of our doubt. After overcoming these, what we call hindrances, we come back to our breath again. We can proceed with great comfort and having a lot of confidence in ourselves. And that's how we practice.
Bhante G, many of us chase success, money and fame. How do we balance ambition with the reality of our being?
You see, contentment is a great virtue. We also must learn our limitations. Buddha did not curtail our ambition. You can have ambition. If you are a businessman, you can, sell things and have some profit. Having profit from your business is not something, it's not sin, it's not a bad, it's not a papa, because he You have to promote your business and continue your business for yourself and for the family. But at the same time, the person must not try break his neck through becoming over-ambitious. And that is what Buddha live a moderate life. And therefore, one who wants to practice Dhamma, practice meditation, live a balanced life, one must learn to live a moderate life.
Sati, awaken to the present.
Bhante, to move on from that to another problem that young people have. Many young seek healing, emotional support when they speak to you. Whether it's in relationships or in life, many feel lonely, heartbroken. But this is also through the desire to have someone or something closer to you. But in the absence of what you look for, how can the Dhamma support you?
You know, desire in itself is overall is the cause of suffering. No problem, no question about that. But the desire has two types: wholesome desire and unwholesome desire. What is unwholesome desire? Desire to perpetuate desire. Wholesome desire is a desire to be desireless. That is wholesome desire. We can promote that. That means when you talk about desire, you know, suppose you give dana. You give dana, offer things. When you offer things, at the back of your mind, there is a desire to get more. When you give more, you get more. And suppose you gave dana and received something more, in the next life you might think, I get everything I need. What I have done, I might have done some good things in the past. And therefore in this life you do even more good things. And next life you have even better things. Then you do more good things. So there is no end to that. See? No end to that desire. And therefore the Buddha's advice is, you must learn a way to reduce desire and have greater peace. Desire is the cause of karma. Karma. We commit karma because of desire. Sometimes wholesome karma, sometimes unwholesome karma. And Buddha taught us a way to get rid of that karma. That is called karma destroying karma. You know, when you have karma, good karma or bad karma, Buddha said, kannang kanna vipakang kammang, sukkang sukha vipakang kammang, akannang asukang vipakang kammang, kanna sukha vipakang kammang. Kanna karma, kalu karma. Dark karma means papa. White karma, sukha, sudu karma, good karma, wholesome karma. Kanna sukha, both mixed karma. Akanna asukha, kalu sudu novana, kalut novana, sudu novana karma. Mokadde karma? E karma, karma, khe karma. Karma destroying karma. Only when we destroy karma, we can end our suffering, end our existence in samsara, attain nibbana. What is that karma? That is called Noble Eightfold Path. When you practice Noble Eightfold Path, that is the way to attaining liberation, the way to get rid of your karma. As long as you have karma, you keep repeating again and again your samsaric existence. And therefore, we must understand that the best way to get rid of karma is to practice the Noble Eightfold Path. In meditation, we practice Noble Eightfold Path.
How so?
As I mentioned, the 5 purposes of meditation, one of the Nyayas Adhigamaya, to put ourselves on the right path, that is the Noble Eightfold Path. When we practice that end up in attaining liberation. And that is why Buddha said, Ekayano ayambike maggo sattana visuddhya. Only there is only one way to attain, one way. That way, if you practice, goes directly to Nibbana. Attain direct, you realize Nibbana. You see, seeing Nibbana intellectually is one thing. You can see Nibbana intellectually, logically, rationally, discussing, reading books, listening to Dhamma talks and so forth. You can have some guess of Nibbana. It is just like you are traveling in a desert, very thirsty, tired, dry up, and then you want water. And then there is a deep well. When you peep into the deep well, you can see at the bottom there is water. But your hand is not long enough. You have no bucket, no rope to reach the water. And therefore, seeing Nibbana intellectually is one thing, that's a good thing. But realizing Nibbana, you have to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. That is the bucket, that is the rope, that is the long hand. If you remember this simile, you can see the difference between seeing Nibbana intellectually and realizing Nibbana in your person.
What have you got to tell some of us? What would you tell some of us, Bhante G, who are stuck in seeking solace through rituals, looking at Nibbana or seeking the states of mind, or trying to overcome your sansaric karma through rituals? Rituals. Because many of us, we see that are stuck in daily cycle of rituals and tend to be distanced from bhavana, meditation, and the practice of mindfulness that you're talking about.
Actually, ritual is one of the fetters. Sakkaya Ditthi, Vicikicca, Silabbata, Paramasa. Ritual is one of the fetters. Actually, some people think if they perform all kinds of rituals, they can attain liberation. They can attain Nibbana. You see, if we think of it in today, Theravada Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism, Tantrayana Buddhism, in all of them, predominant practice is rituals. Predominant practice is ritual. And therefore, so long as they are clung to rituals, they cannot attain liberation. They have to see all rituals can bind us to samsara, never help us to get rid of samsara. And the Buddha is the only one who discovered the way to get rid of rituals. Through the practice, through seeing impermanence of these rituals, unsatisfactoriness of rituals, and confusing ourselves because of rituals. And so we have to get rid of that through the practice of meditation. When we practice meditation, we can see these three things very clearly, and then we withdraw from the practice. Or there may be very basic rituals. For instance, we bow down to Buddha image every day. That's a ritual. But that ritual, by doing so, we don't believe that we can attain enlightenment. But we want to pay our utmost respect to the Buddha, putting our head down at the feet of our Buddha, and we show how humble we are in front of the Buddha. And that is not unwholesome ritual. That's a very simple, basic ritual.
But in the face of economic hardships and difficulties, how do we look at a way to practice Dhamma or meditation? Because it looks like you can be easily distracted because of these hardships.
Economic hardships, yes. You know, Buddha never put down the business, earning, and promoting business and so forth. In Sigalovada Sutta, you remember, you have to divide your earning into 4. You use 1/4 for your daily usage, and 2 you reinvest, and 1 you save for you to, in your heart, time to use, putting in the bank and so forth. And therefore we have to be intelligent enough, wise enough to divide our earning. We cannot be just spendthrift and keep spending all our money for enjoying. We have to save it. And any wise person, Buddha's time there were many multimillionaires, Anathapindika, Dhananjaya and so forth, so many rich people, Janusoni and so forth, very rich people. Buddha never condemned them. Kings had a lot of properties, never condemned. But at the same time, they must spend time in practicing dana, sila, bhavana. They have to saddha, sila, sati, samadhi, panya. Saddha, sila, sati, samadhi, panya. They have to develop this in order to reduce their greed. But he did not ask people to give up everything all of a sudden. You have to give up things gradually. I think the best way to practice giving up is to give up certain things that you never use for 5 years. You may have, you go to shopping mall and they display, there's a special courses of displaying things. You go to universities and learn that course, and then come out and you arrange things for people to attract people. So you pass and you see a blouse or tie or shoe, and then you don't, these days especially, don't have to worry about money. You have a card, they give the card and you buy the tie or blouse and come home. You have 10 of them in your closet because you never use them. And therefore, before you buy that particular item, you think, let me go home and think. This will not disappear very quickly. Let me go home and open my closet and see how many of them are there. So many people buy, and then one day they put a yard sale. And something like that. So this is waste of time, waste of money, waste of energy. And therefore we have to be very, not stingy but thrifty with our possessions and acquisitions.
Sati, awaken to the present.
Bhante, you talk about also minimalism as a way of letting go. I want to turn to Sri Lanka. You have watched Sri Lanka evolve through decades of liberation, conflict, recovery, reform, at times prosperous, at times in struggle. And do you think we have forgotten the lessons of the Buddha? Although we are very proud and we take prestige in calling ourselves a Buddhist country, do you think we have forgotten to live by, lead by the philosophy of Buddhism?
Actually, that is true. We have forgotten our Buddhist principle. There are many people who are practicing that as a nation. We have lost the sight of Buddhist practice. And that's why we have gone through, there have been a lot of natural disasters. But there was almost 30-year war. That is because of not practicing Buddhism properly. If they treat all alike, they also are human beings. They also are Sri Lankan citizens. We all must have equal rights for properties, education, and so forth. And we forgot this. The Buddha has taught us to treat all alike, all equally. And we were lopsided. We did not pay attention to that part. And that is why when we sort of ill-treat certain type of people, and then eventually they will lose their temper, their patience, and they uprise against the existing system. That has happened in many countries even today. In some countries, like Madagascar, for instance, now, 3/4 of the people are poor, and only 1/4 enjoy the country's properties. Their friends and relatives and so forth share all the properties. Even though they have guns, weapons, armies, police, navy, people are not afraid. They might face the guns, bullets. They want to live a decent life, and therefore they uprise. Mm-hmm. And therefore, if we all learn to live together, work together in friendliness, share our property on mundane life, that's a very wonderful thing that the Buddha taught. If you don't do that, any country, any time, Buddha's time, even today, in future, there will be trouble.
In Buddhist philosophy, rulers were guided by the royal virtues, whether it's generosity, morality, patience, and in these principles were applied in modern governance. What might change in the way we make decisions and serve the public, Bhante? What is your message to our leaders who are looking at recovery for Sri Lanka, but also we are talking about people who have suffered over the years, and also across the world we see conflict, inequality, as I said before. How can we look at a way for leaders to work together through the principles of the philosophy to bring peace and coexistence?
I think the leaders themselves must be clean, not corrupted. They must set an example. Buddha said in Pali, Sabbangava Wankan Yanti Nette Wankagate Sati. Sabbangava Ujung Yanti Nette Utugate Sati. When the lady is going crooked, like crab, going on sideway asking her children to go straight, it will never happen. The leader must set example, being honest, sincere, and not corrupt. Then he must select similar people to work with him. And then from top to down, bottom, slowly they will learn. It will not happen overnight. It takes some time, because if people have been corrupted for over a long period of time, they will not change their habits. Once you start doing, wrong things, it becomes a habit, and it seems to be sort of acceptance to the society. So it is like a cancer, spread all over the country. So it takes a certain time to train them. The best way to start with is little children at home, before 5 years old, at home, by parents. When we think of that, we have to educate the parents to educate their children. Anyway, that can happen, that is possible if we have good leaders, sincere leaders. So it cannot happen very quickly. I think in the Aganya Sutta, when people were stealing in the Buddha's time, and a lot of corruptions, and then there were a lot of robbers, and the prisons were full of. So Buddha said, by putting them in prison, you cannot remove the crimes. You first find out the people's needs. If they need seed money, you give them seed money. If you need the things for cultivation lands, provide them. And so forth. Gradually you increase their lifestyle, improve their lifestyle, improve their life, reduce their poverty. Then people will reduce their crimes. Prisons will not be full of criminals. And that's what the Buddha advised. That is true even today. The leaders must learn to take care of the problem wisely.
Bhante G, සිංහලෙනුත් වචන ස්වල්පයක් කතා කරන්න මම ආරාධනා කරන්න කැමතියි. ඔබ වහන්සේ සමග මේ සාකච්ඡාව කරන්න ලැබිච්ච එක නාලිකාවක් හැටියට දෙරණ අපට මහත් වාග්යක්. මම හිතාතේ ශ්‍රී ලාංකීය ජනතාවට ඔබ වහන්සේ සිංහල භාෂාවෙන් වචන ස්වල්පයක් ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් අප මහත් ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. සිංහල භාෂාවෙන් මේ බුදු දහම, එතකොට අපි යන මඟ, අපි කොහොමද මේ බුද්ධ ධර්මය හරියට අපේ එදිනෙදා ජීවිතයට භාවිතා කරන්න කියලා වචන ස්වල්පයක් අපත් සමග බෙදා ගන්න හැකිනම්?
මම අර ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කිව්වා වගේම අපිට මේ හොඳ අනාගතයක් ඇති කරගන්න පුළුවන් අපේ මේ ප්‍රධානයෙන් හොඳ ජීවිත ගත කරනවා කියන්නේ හොරමර ගන්න නැතුව, තක්කඩි ගන්න නැතුව මේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ජීවිත ගත කරනවා නම් ඒකම පහළට ගලා යන්න පුළුවන් සාමාන්‍ය මිනිස්සුන්ට, මහජනයාට. රටට ලැබෙන මේ ආදායම හොරකම් කරන්නේ නැතුව ඒවා නියම විදියට පාවිච්චි කරලා නැති බැරි උදවියගේ ජීවිත නගා හිටුවන්ට උපකාර කරලා, ඉස්කෝල නැති ප්‍රදේශවල ඉස්කෝල හදලා දීලා, ගුරුවරු නැති ප්‍රදේශවලට ගුරුවරුපත් කරලා, මේ පාරතුර නැති ප්‍රදේශවලට පාරතුර දාලා, මේ ගොවිතැන් කරන්න උදවියට ඒ සුදුසු වෙලාවට ඕන කරන වී පෝර වතුර දෙන්න සලස්සලා සලස්වාම වැව් අපේ රටේ ලංකාවේ හුඟක් වැව් තියෙනවානේ. මේ වැව් ඔක්කොම ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණය කරලා මේ ඒවට හොරෝ දාන්න තියෙනවා. ඒව දාලා මේ ලංකා පුරාම ගොවිතැන් කරන රටක්නේ. බත් කරන රටක්නේ. ඒ නිසා ඒ ආහාර පළතුරු එළවලු ලංකාවේ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ ප්‍රයෝජනයට ප්‍රමාණවත් දේවල් ලංකාව තුළ ඇති කරගන්න පුළුවන්. මේ ලංකාවට පිටරටින් මේ කෑම ගෙන්නන්නටත් වෙලා තියෙනවනේ. සමහරට මට ආරංචි හාල් ගෙන්නනවලු සමහර විට. ඉතින් පරිප්පු නම් ප්‍රමාණවත් නැතිනම් පරිප්පු ගෙන්නනවලු. ඔය ආදී දේවල් පිටරට වලින් ගෙන්නනවා. මේවා රට තුළම ඇති කරගන්න පුළුවන්. අර විදිහේ මේ ලීඩර්ස්ලා තියෙන දේ රැකගෙන දැන් ලංකා රට වගේ පොඩි රටක් මේ විසිටර්ස් ටුවරිස්ලා මොකක්ද කියන්නේ සිංහල සංචාරකයන් මට දැන් අවුරුදු 77ක් ලංකාව පිට වෙලා සමහර සිංහල වචන මතක නැහැ. ඉතින් මේ සංචාරකයන් ගෙන්නන විදිහට වැඩ කරලා ඒ සංචාරකයන් ආපහු ඒගොල්ලන්ට එපා නොවන විදිහට වැඩ කරලා අවංක මිනිස්සු අවංක මේ ගයිඩ්ස්ලා පත් කරලා ඒ සංචාරකයන් යන්ට ඒගොල්ලන්ට බලන්න සුදුසු තැන් හොඳට හදලා මේ ඒ මිනිස්සුන්ට හෝටල් හදලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට ආපුවාම ආයසරයක් එන්න හිතෙන විදිහට වැඩ කරලා මේ කරනවා නම් අපිට ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම මේක එක්තරා මේ බෞද්ධ වැඩපිළිවෙලක්. බෞද්ධ නෝන්රවල මේවා තියෙනවා. නමුත් අපට බුද්ධ ආගමත් උපයෝගී කරගෙන මේ කටයුතු ලංකාවේ කරන්න පුළුවන්. හොඳ මිනිස්සු ඉන්නවා. හොඳ මේ අවංක මිනිස්සු ඉන්නවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ තෝරලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට දැන් ඔක්කොම ලංකාවේ නරක වෙලා නැහැ. මේ සමහර නරක වෙච්ච මිනිස්සුන්ගේ නම තමයි ප්‍රසිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. අර හොඳ මිනිස්සු ගැන කවුරුත් කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ, දන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් ඒගොල්ලෝ නිහඬව ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ වැදගත් සේවය ඒගොල්ලෝ දෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා ඒගොල්ලෝ අඳනගෙන ඒගොල්ලන්ට මේ මතුවෙන්ට සලස්සලා ක්‍රියා කරනවා නම් මම හිතන්නේ ලංකාව නුගක් අනාගතයේ බොහොම හොඳට රැක වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
අපේ නායක හාමුදුරනේ තව දෙයක් අපේ බෞද්ධ ජනතාවට අපි මේ ආගමක් හැටියට බෞද්ධ දර්ශනය පිළිපදිනවා. භාවනාව අපෙන් ඈත් වෙලාද කියලාත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා.
ඇත්ත වශයෙන් දැන් නම් මට ආරංචි වුණා භාවනා මධ්‍යස්ථාන තියෙනවා කියලා ලංකාවේ. ඒක හොඳ ලකුණක්. ඉතින් ඒක මේ අර උඩිරියගම ධම්මජීව හාමුදුරුවෝ පටන් ගත්තා මේ සති පාසල කියලා එකක්. ඉතින් ඒකත් පොඩි දරුවන්ට ඕනෑම ආගමක සිංහල, දෙමළ, මුස්ලිම් කිසි ආගම් භේදයක් නැතුව සිහි කල්පනාව දියුණු කරගන්න පුරුදු කරන එක ලොකු දෙයක්. ඒ වගේම තමයි පටන් ගන්න දෙන්න. අනිත් එකම අපේ මේ ඉරිදා ඉස්කෝලවල උගන්වන්න ඕන මේ බුද්ධ ධර්මය බොහොම වැදගත් කොටස් අරගෙන උගන්වන්න ඕනේ. මේ බුද්ධ චරිතයම කියලා මදි. හැමෝටම බුදු වෙන්න බෑනේ. ඒ නිසා ගෞරවය ඇති වෙන්න බුද්ධ චරිතය කියන් දෙන්න ඕන. ඊට අතිරේකව තෝරාගත්ත බොහොම වැදගත් බෞද්ධ සූත්‍ර උගන්වන්න ඕන දරුවන්ට. මේ උගන්ලා ඒවත් මේ ක්‍රියාවට දාන්න ඇති උගන්වන්න ඕන. අපි හිතමු පිරිසුදුකම කියලා. පිරිසුදුකම මේ භාවනා කරනකොටත් තියෙනවා මේ තමන් ඉන්න පරිසරය පිරිසුදු කරගන්න කියලා. ඒකත් භාවනාවට උපකාර කරන දෙයක්. මේ ඒ වගේ ගෙවල් වල ඉන්න ළමයින්ට මේ අපි හිතමු චොකලට් එකක් කෑවා කියලා ඒකේ රැප් එකෙන් විශ් කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක සාක්කුවේ දාගෙන ගිහලා කුණු කුණියක් තියෙන දේ එතන දාන්න පුරුදු කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒක දැම්මට පස්සේ යට ස්තුති කරන්න බොහොම හොඳ ළමයා බොහොම ස්තුතියි කියලා කියන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම ළමයාට හිත මුල හිටම පුරුදු කරනවා නම් මේ පිරිසුදුකම තමන්ගේ කටයුතු වෙලාවට කරන්න දැන් මේ විහාර පන්සල් වල බුදුන් ඇඳීම පුරුදු කරනවා එක බොහොම හොඳයි. භාවනාව අඩුම ගානේ දවසකට මිනිත්තු 5ක්වත් භාවනා කරන ළමයින්ට පුරුදු කරන්න ඕන පොඩි කාලේ ඉඳන්ම. මම උදාහරණයක් ඇට කියන්නම්. මම වොෂින්ටන් එකේ ඉන්න කාලේ මම අවුරුදු 20ක් හිටියයි. හැම සෙනසුරාදාටම මේ එක පවුලක් පොඩි දරුවෙක් අරන් යනවා ගෑනු ළමයෙක්. අවුරුදු 4යි වයසේ ළමයාගේ. මම ඒ ළමයා ඉස්සරහින් වාඩි කරවලා බෙල්ල ගත්තේ ඩොග් ගහලා මිනිත්තුවක් ඇස් පියාගෙන ඉන්න කියන වෙන මොකුත් කරන්න. මිනිත්තුවක්. ළමයට මිනිත්තුවක්වත් ඇස් පියාගෙන ඉන්න බෑනේ. ඕම කරන ඇස් දෙක. ඒ මිනිත්තු වුණාට පස්සේ මම බෙල්ලෙක් ගහපුවම මිනිත්තු 15ක් ළමයට දුවලා පැනලා සෙල්ලම් කරන්න දෙනවා. ඕම මිනිත්තු 4ක් භාවනා කරන්න මම පැයක් ගත කරනවා. ඕම කරලා මේ ළමයා ටික ටික ලොකු වෙලා අවුරුදු 12 විතරනකොට වැඩි හිටියොත් එක්ක මිනිත්තු 30ක් විතර භාවනා කළා. ඕම කාලයක් ගිහිල්ලා මම ඉතින් වොෂින්ටන් එකේ මෙහාට වෙලා මේක පටන් ගන්න. එනකොට මට ওই කොලරාඩෝ වල මේ භාවනා වැඩසටහනකට ආරාධනා කළා. ඒ භාවනා කරන අතරතුර මට ඒ ආරාධනා කරන මිනිහා කිව්වා මේ ලේඩි කෙනෙක් කියලා ඉන්නවා බන්තේ හම්බෙන්න කියලා. මම ඉතින් ආවිලා බලපුවම අර ගෑනු ළමයා භාවනා කරලා බැඳලා ඒ වගේම වයස 4 දරුවෙකුත් අරගෙන ඇවිල්ලා මට පෙන්නලා ඉන්ට්‍රොඩියුස් කරලා භාවනාව ගන්නට කියලා. ඒ තරම් මේක දිග යනවා. පොඩි කාලේ පුරුදු කළාම. ඒ නිසා ගෙවල් වල මව්පියෝ ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම දැන් මම මහා සතිපට්ඨාන සූත්‍රය කටපාඩම් කරගත්තේ අකුරු දන්නේ නැති කාලේ. මොකද අපේ මව්පියෝ අටවිල් ගත්තම ඕක තමයි කියන්නේ හැමදාම. මේ ඒකයන් ඔබේකම කියන්නේ යනවා. මේ ඉතින් ඕක මට කටපාඩම් හිටියා. ඒ නිසා මම මේ අනිසේරම අමතක වුණා මට හොඳ මතකයක් තිබුණා මේ ෆොටෝග්‍රැෆික් මෙමරි එකක්. ඉතින් ඒක නැතුව ගියා වයස 20 දී. ඉතින් ඕක ආපහු ගන්න නොයෙකුත් දේවල් කළා හරි කියන පස්සේ මට හිතුණා මේ භාවනා කළොත් හරියයි කියලා. මම අර සූත්‍රය කටපාඩම් තිබිච්ච හින්දා ඕක නිකන් මතක් වෙවි ආවා. ඒක භාවනා ඒක තමයි පටන් ගත්තේ. ඒ නිසා ඒකෙන් මගේ අමතක වීම ටික නැති වෙලා මතක් වීම අකුරු ඇඳ ගන්න පටන් ගත්තා, වචන ඇඳ ගන්න පටන් ගත්තා, වාක්‍ය ඇඳ ගන්න පටන් ගත්තා. එහෙම දේවල් එක මට ආපහු එන්න පටන් ගත්තා. අන්න ඒ විදිහේ මහා පුදුම මේ බලයක් තියෙනවා මේ භාවනාවේ. ඉතින් ඕක මේ දරුවන්ට පුරුදු කරන ඉගෙනීමට බොහොම වැදගත් දෙයක්. පාඩම් කරන දේ මතක හිටිනවා. ඉතින් අමුතුවෙන් දේවල් හිතන්න පුරුදු වෙනවා. හිත පිරිසුදු වෙනවා. ඉතින් හිතට විවේකය ලැබෙනවා. ශාන්ත ගතියක් ඇති වෙනවා. ওই විදිහේ දේවල් පුරුදු වෙන ඒව මේ බුද්ධ ධර්මයේ තියෙන උතුම් වැදගත් කොටස්. මේවා අපි පුරුදු කරගන්න ඕනේ.
ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ නායක හාමුදුරුවෝ මම හිතන්නේ දරුවන් ගැන කතා කරා. අපිට පොඩ්ඩක් අවසාන වශයෙන් භාවනාව මගහැරිච්ච වැඩිහිටියන්ට මොන වගේ අවවාදයක්ද තියෙන්නේ? කොතනින්ද පටන් ගන්නෙ?
භාවනා කරන්න වැඩිහිටියන්ට පටන් ගන්න ක්‍රම කීපයක් තියෙනවා. එකක් ඒගොල්ලන්ට මෛත්‍රී භාවනාවෙන් පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. මෛත්‍රී භාවනාවෙන් පටන් ගත්තම ඒක දියුණු කරගන්න පුළුවන්. මේ මෛත්‍රී කරනකොට අනිත් තුනම එක් වෙනවා. මේ මෙත්තා, කරුණා, මුදිතා, උපේක්ඛා. මේ හතරම බ්‍රහ්ම විහාර හතරම පුරුදු වෙනවා. එකක් කරාම අනිත් තුනම එකට ඇදලා එනවා. ඉතින් ඒකෙන් පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් එක මේ මෛත්‍රී භාවනාව ගැන කතා කරනකොට මේ ඒකේ මේ වැරදි හැඟීම් තියෙනවා මෛත්‍රී භාවනාව ගැන. සමහරට මිත්‍ර කියනවා මේ මෙත්තානිසංස සූත්‍රය කියලා සූත්‍රයක් තියෙනවා. මේකේ තියෙනවා මෛත්‍රී කිරීමේ ආනිසංස 11ක්. එයින් එකක් තමයි නාසාග්ගව සත්තංව විසංව කමති කියලා තියෙනවා. විසවත් ආයුධවත් ගින්දරෙන්වත් විපත්තියක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා තියෙනවා. ඒක ඇත්තද? දැන් අපි භාවනා කරගෙන ඉන්නකොට කවුරුත් ඇවිල්ලා පිටිපස්සෙන් අපට පීයෙන් යන්නොත් ඒක වදින්නේ නැද්ද? උදාහරණයක් තමයි අර සාමාවතී කතාව. සාමාවතී කියලා උදේන් රජුරන්ට සාමාවතී කියලා බිසවක්. තවත් බිසවක් හිටියා මාගන්ධ කියලා. මාගන්ධයා බුදුහාරොත් එක්ක තරහයි. බුදුහාරොන්ට විපත්තියක් කරන්න බෑ. ඔය මාගන්ධී සූත්‍රයේ තියෙන එකක් ඕක. මාගන්ධයා තරුණ ළමයිසියක් කවුරු හරි විවාහ වෙන්න යෝජනා කළොත් එයා ඒ මනුස්සයාගේ දොස් කියලා උස වැඩි මහත වැඩි කළු වැඩි අරුවම කියලා ඒවා රිජෙක්ට් කරනවා. ඔහොම ගිහිල්ලා එයා ටික ගෙට තරුණ ළමයිසියා ගෙට නාකි වෙන්න දෙන්න බෑනේ. විවාහ වෙනවා නම් ඒ කාලේ විවාහ කරන්න ඕන. ඒ මාගන්ධියගේ තාත්තා එක දවසක් ඇවිදගෙන යනකොට මේ දැක්කා හොඳ ලස්සන බබලන දිල්ලිසන තරුණෙක්. ගෙට දුවලා ගිහලා නෝනට කිව්වා මෙන්න මේක දැක්කා. එයාට නම් කැමති වෙයි කියලා ඒක කරගෙන ආවා. ඇවිල්ලා මේ ඉන්ට්‍රොඩියුස් කරලා තියෙන්නේ බුදුහාමුදුරන්ට. ඉතින් බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ කිව්වා මේ මගේ දුව බඳින්න කැමතිද කියලා. බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ කිව්වා මේ අදත් කවුරු හරි ඒක කිව්වොත් ඒ වචනේ ඒ බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ කියපේ ඕනම කාන්තාවකට කේන්ති යනවා. දිස්වාන කාමං අර්ථයෙන් රතෙන්ච නාවෝසි කාමං අපි මේ තුනස්මින් කිමේ විදං උත්තකරේස වන්නම් පාදාපිනම් පොසිතං නයිච්චේ කියලා. තණ්හා රති රගා දකලාවත් මට ලේස මාත්‍රයක ආසාවක් ඇති වුණේ නැහැ. මේ මල මුත්‍ර වලින් පිරිච්ච කුණු ශරීරයක් මට පයින්වත් පා ගන්න හිතෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා කිව්වා. වාගන්ධයට හොඳටම කේන්ති ගියා. වයිද බඳගත්ත බුදුහාරවරේ. ඊට පස්සේ බුදුහාරන්ගේ පරිගන්න බැරි හින්දා බුදුහාරොන්ට උසස් කොට සලකපු කෙනෙක් තමයි සාමාවතී. සාමාවතී මෛත්‍රී කරන කෙනෙක්. හැම සුමානෙම 500ක් තරුණ කාන්තාව එකතු කරන භාවනා උගන්වන මෛත්‍රී භාවනාව. ඔහොම කරගෙන යනකොට මේ මාගන්ධියා කල්පනා කළා උදේන් රජුණට විරුද්ධ උදේන් රජුණ මෙයා කරේ තරහ කරන නොයෙකුත් දේවල් කළා. එකක්වත් කරගෙන අන්තිමට කල්පනා කළා මෙයා අර 500ක භාවනා කරන විශාල හෝල් එක වටේට රෙදි දාලා ඒවට ගෙනි තෙල් දාලා ගෙනි තියන්න. දොරවල් ජනල ඔක්කොම වහලා. ඔක්කොම ගෙනි තිබ්බා. අර 500ම මල ගෙන්දරේ. ගෙන්දරේ පිටිලා මරුව නැද්ද? මල. ඒ නිසා මේ මෛත්‍රී කිරීමෙන් ගෙන්දරේ පිටිලා බෑ. නොමරනවයි වසවිස වලින් විපත් වෙනවයි ආයුධ වලින් විපත් වෙන කෙනෙක් ඇත්තකුත් තියෙනවා. මොකද්ද ඇත්ත? බුදුහාම කවදාකවත් බොරුවක් කියන්නේ. මොකද්ද ඇත්ත? මෛත්‍රී කරන එක්කෙනාගේ වස ආයුධ එතකොට මේ ගිනි ඔක්කොම තියෙන්නේ අපේ හිතේ. ඒකේ තියෙනවා රාගග්ගේ, දෝසග්ගේ, මෝහග්ගේ කියලා. රාගගින්න, දෝසගින්න, මෝහගින්න. අපේ මෛත්‍රී කරනකොට රාගයක් ඇති වෙන්න බෑ. තරහක් ඇති වෙන්න බෑ. මෝහයක් මේ ඇති වෙන්න බෑ. ඒවයි නැති වෙන්නේ මෛත්‍රී කරනකොට. ඒ නිසා භාවනාව ඉගෙන කරන උදවියට අඩුම ගානේ මෛත්‍රී භාවනාවත් ඒකේ නියම ප්‍රතිඵලත් කියා දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඔය මේ සාමාවතී මෛත්‍රී කරන උදවියගෙන් උතුම් කෙනෙක් කියලා බුදුහාරෝ ඒත දග්ගපාලි අංගුත්තර නිකාය දේශනා කළ දෙනවා. ඒ දග්ගම්බිකේ මම ගී මෙත්තා විහාරේ නම් ගී උපාසිකා නම් යද්දන් සාමාවතී කියලා. මේ මගේ ශ්‍රාවිකයන් අතර ගී උදවියන් අතර මෛත්‍රී කරන උදවිය අතර ප්‍රධානියා සාමාවතී කියලා. ඉතින් ඒ සාමාවතී ගින්දරෙන් පිච්චෙනකොට මෛත්‍රී කළා. කොහොමද කළේ? ඒ ගින්දරෙන් පිච්චුණා. එතකොට එයා කිව්වා සහෝදරයනේ මේ වෙලාවේ තමයි අපි මෛත්‍රී කළ යුත්තේ. අපට මේ ගින්දර තිබ්බු උදවියට ලේස මාත්‍රයකවත් තරහක් ඇති කරගන්න එපා. අන්න නියම විදිහට මෛත්‍රී කරපු වෙලාව. ඒ නිසා අපි භාවනා කරනකොට පටන් ගන්න හොඳ මෛත්‍රී හිතවිල්ලකින්. ඒක මහා පුදුම ගුණයක් තියෙන එකක්. ඒ නිසා මේ පුංචි කාලේ හිටම පුරුදු කරන්න ඕනේ. තමන් පුරුදු කර ගන්න ඕනේ. අනුන්ට කියා දෙන්න මෛත්‍රී කරන්න හැටි.
මේ සාකච්ඡාව හරි වටිනවා අපට නායක ස්වාමින් වහන්සේ. මම හිතන්නේ මේ අවස්ථාවත් අපිට හරි වටිනවා. ඉතින් මට කියන්න තියෙන ගොඩක් පිං අපිත් එක්ක මේ වචන බෙදාගත්තට. With the mind at the center of this discussion as the focal point, whether it's for person or country, to seek peace, harmony, and an end to suffering. We were in conversation with the most Venerable Bhante G, who is in West Virginia at the Bhavana Society in the United States. And it has been a true honor for us to bring this episode from the United States in conversation with Bhante Henepola Gunaratana Thera to you to discuss about meditation, life, and our expectations.